Right, let's move on to the next topic, rise in the price of bread. All right, bread, as we all know, is perhaps one of the most popular staple food in Nigeria. Everybody in Nigeria, you know, I mean, eats bread regardless of your social standing. I mean, I stand to be corrected.
It depends on the type of
bread.
On
the type of bread. But you eat one form of bread or the other, you know, depending on your social standing. But anyways, Nigerians are once again forced to pay more for bread. This is because bread makers across the country say they are reselling at a loss. Now, they say the reason for this is the more than 100% hike in prices of basic ingredients like flour, margarine, preservatives, milk, and vegetable oil. Now, let me give us a very quick run through of how these items I just mentioned are doing in the market currently. Now, between March and August this year, flour rose from 10,000 naira a bag to 13,500. Now, sugar rose from 13,500 naira to 29,000 naira. Milk increased from 29,000 naira to 52,000 naira. Margarine increased from 5,800 naira to 11,000 naira. Well, vegetable oil, I mean, even if you are not a baker, but you cook in your kitchen, you know this. The price of vegetable oil has risen from 13,000 naira to 16,000 naira. Now, bakers across board are calling on the government to intervene as the high cost of ingredients is killing their business. And of course, I can testify because your regular family loaf that used to be like 250 is now 300, 350. Yeah, if you were buying at 300 before, you're paying like 400 naira or 450. 0802-836-8971 and 0703-570-9407 are the numbers to use. All right, gentlemen, what is the lot of the common man now that the price of bread has been jacked up? What are we going to be eating?
One thing there is this, you know, bread is so important to the extent that it's the major fast food we have apart from curry. It's a fast food that you don't need to cook it. You buy it, you can even be eating it on the spot, with or without anything. And for a common person, it's going to tell toll on them. For instance, now, the preservative you talk about is from 25,000 to 34,500. Wheat, you know, you remember during the last administration, they talk about wheat bread. We are the one we see on that day, and we could not see it again.
Wheat bread, corn bread, cassava bread. Those we're talking
wheat
about.
Bread, wheat is from 10,000 to 14,000. Then after that, there is what we call National Wheat Development Program. Where they really want to make sure that those people producing wheat in Nigeria, they give them 15% out of whatever, and it's still not. And the tariff also on wheat importation is 5%. This is a major problem. There are some certain policy we do in Nigeria that we don't think about aftermath of it. Look at the one of wheat. If you import wheat, 5% tariff. And the wheat we have on ground cannot be effective for what we are using wheat to do in Nigeria. So what is important there is that those bakers, if you look at the analysis, they've tried. In fact, the increment they are bringing is not at the number or percentage of the increment they have in raw materials. And this is the item that government needs to come in. Government don't need to give them money. No. Because it's not everything that when we want to do pilot, they will say, I want to do piloting for bakers. No, it's not about giving money. What you just need to do is very, very simple. There are some people that we call flour millers. Because whatever they import to is what they are going to chip out. So what you just need to do is that instead of giving 15% on national wheat development, why can't you give that 15% in terms of services or whatever to all those millers?
15% what? Rebates?
Yes. So you understand that you can, because that one is not sustaining because of the number of wheat we have cannot accommodate all what we are using wheat to do in Nigeria. So what you just need to do is that all those flour millers, if they have 15% in terms of, it could be in terms of services, you could say, okay, out of the tax we pay 15%, take it off.
Okay.
So then the sugar refiners too, because that is another one. So that is why some of us that were thinking a particular organization, when it has a refinery, where we are just joking, because it's going to base on whatever natural resources. It's going to determine what it's going to sell. And the same thing is applicable. Then instability in the foreign exchange, because there are some 58% of what they use in producing bread is still being imported. So automatically, if you have that kind of range like that, so whatever they import, they are going to base all these exchange.
I think importation really is the bane, of everything we're discussing concerning
whatever you don't have at
bread.
Home, whatever
Exactly,
you have to import it. You have to import
and
it.
we're importing almost everything. Almost everything.
And another thing again
bread.
is it is a high time that if Minister of Agriculture needs to call the flour millers, the sugar refineries, and sit down, because one thing there is this. Gari, we are talking about bread because the one of Gari is now belated. Gari has also increased too. If you don't go to, and the point is that the kind of Gari you are going to get is not the one you get in Ogun State or you get in your state. It's all those starchy ones, and they are still going to sell in higher. And these are the things that we are talking about. Food security. We said in last video, somebody is telling us that food is not increased. We have been, thank God that Minister of Finance have to come into being. This is a high time. As much as the hardship that Nigerians are facing, it shouldn't be part of food, because in Yoruba they used to say that if somebody is poor and you have the ability to eat, out of that poorness, some percentage have left out, at least you can eat. I have the strength to even work harder for more money.
Okay, all right. I want to hear Dr. Maduka's take. First of all, Mr. Degbero said bread. You don't need to cook it. You can start eating it. Start eating it right from where you buy it. Also, let's not forget that the combinatory possibilities of bread, is endless. It's endless. So you can combine attachment. So before we
you can use it to eat this.
I think.
All right, go ahead.
Bread is like an opium.
Yes.
To a common man. Just like religion is very essential to a religious person, very, very important. And they said a hungry man
is an angry man,
and of course a danger to the society. So I started with some five. I told you something about five cardinals of life processing, and I said if you deny a society or a person education, you deny them the future. If you deny somebody shelter, you deny him the dignity of being a person and respect. If you deny somebody health care, you rendered him useless and miserable in life. If you deny somebody security, he's vulnerable. He could be killed, he could be. But if you deny a person food, you deny him his life.
You've killed him.
It's his life. Why am I saying this thing? The war that Hitler waged against the entire world, the defeat was based on hunger. Those guys in Antique, they were hungry and they died like that.
Even a civil war.
Even
you are going far. It ended when hunger came into the picture.
I'm coming on that. I wanted to start from the Nigerian civil war. That the Biafran didn't lose that war on the battlefield.
Please don't start this Biafran debate at this table. I don't want it.
It's history.
I know why I'm saying that.
It's history. We have to put history.
Okay,
the history
go ahead.
And so the defeat was based on hunger. If you see some of what we are skeleton, we are out everywhere. So you see, the issue is that when Christ said, "Give us this day our daily bread," that is it. The daily bread means that without daily bread, you're dead. And of course, when God pursued Adam out of Eden, the first thing he said, look, you're going to till the ground and feed yourself. Tilling the ground does not mean that it's just about the work. No, it's because of our stomach. Because if you don't feed, you're going to die.
Yes.
So if you look at this from that trajectory, discover that food is very important. It's just like you having a good car. However wonderful that car, however exotic that car is, if that car is not fueled, it cannot move. That's exactly what food does in our system. The first French Revolution in 1789, you know, it was because of the bread, and because the French people, they love bread. There's nothing that a Frenchman will eat without adding. So when grain entered into 200%, they revolutionized, they attack, and you know what has happened. In 2013 and 14, we remember just here our neighbor, Togo. There was an uproar, there was a riot, because the government increased the price of bread.
Yes,
so the people rioted, the people said no, and government had to listen. See, the issue is that bread is not about just the bread we take it, it's about your food, it's about life. So when you take it out, you're taking off the people's life. So I think the government should do something about it, because if you don't, the issue is that, one, you're going to have a situation where you have masters and servants. Masters are people that can eat bread, servants are the people that are looking for crumbs. And you know the part that's going to generate in the future. I don't know what is wrong with us, because the issue about leadership is about others, not about you. If you can lead, understanding that if you pinch yourself, it's painful. You should be able to know that when you pinch another person, it's going to be painful. I think that our leaders have taken us for a ride, and probably because of our docility. So we are so docile, we don't think. I'm just mentioning Togo, 2013-14, they rioted. But ours is just like, it doesn't really concern me. So whatever government want to do, we have to put the government on accountability. And let me tell you the essence of leadership. Yeah, I know. The essence of leadership, there are three dimensions to leadership. One, accountability. What is accountability? Just explain what you've done with our resources. That's just accountability. Explain it. The other one is responsible. The actions you're taking, you're responsible for it in the future. So mind you that whatever you're doing, the decision, you're responsible for it. Then the third is the privilege. And that privilege is for you to lift up people that are down. It's not to oppress them. If you have this straight principle of responsibility as a leader, you should be able to know when you should come in and say, no, enough is enough. You know, it's not about...
Can I interject at this point, Dr.
I'm talking about the bread issue. You see, the issue about bread is man-made. It's a policy problem. The policy problem is that, okay, the government said they borrowed 5,000 metric ton of grains. What are the distribution? Where did they distribute these grains? If they borrow such, why did we still have such upsurge in prices? That's why I'm saying it's a policy. You know, it's easy to tell me that we borrowed money from China, we borrowed money. But the issue is that where was this money utilized? And that's the question we've not been asking our leaders. 5,000 metric ton could bring down the price of bread if it's well utilized, and if people that are if it's well channeled. So that is my problem. That's why I'm bringing this analogy.
The metric tons of 5,000 metric tons of grains
from West African.
Yes, that were borrowed by the federal. I don't think it included wheat. It didn't include wheat.
Whether it doesn't create.
Yes, and I think it went to the most vulnerable part of Nigeria or whatever. But let's restrain ourselves to the context within which we're discussing, which is bread and how this can actually affect the common man. Like we have identified, it is the most popular staple food in Nigeria today. Rice, that used to be a staple, is no longer a staple food. We all know that. Even Gary is exorbitant now. So bread now became the only option. And now bread too is expensive.
But that was I said that an angry, you know, the things I was summarizing it, I just said a hungry man is an angry man, and is what is a danger to the society.
Now, since we've come in with the issue of policy to this discussion, let's talk about the policy ideas we've been toying with, starting from the era of former President Goodluck Jonathan. I recall then there was a strong campaign for us to go local in terms of our production of our own bread, using corn flour, cassava flour, and all of that. Nigerians did not embrace that idea. Why is it always difficult for us, to actually embrace that which is ours? we always believe until and unless it is imported,
Let me just
that's when it's good enough.
Let me just ask you briefly. If a leader said don't wear shoe made from Japan, and you see the leader wearing the same thing, you see the Nigerian system is so shrewd that you tell somebody something and you do another thing. Nigerians were embracing it. I remember that people started cultivating cassava. There was a lot of inflows of that, but the issue nosedive when there was upsurge of terrorists. You know, we discussed it last time. Terrorists is the main problem we're having right now, that people are not going into their farms to do what they're supposed to do. Secondly, you close the borders. Now the border you close without first of all looking at your own home and know there are things you should ban, there are things you should not ban. Those things that are common to the common man should be just left so that the common man can at least enjoy a bit.
Okay.
So
Mazi.
if you sorry, I'm sorry, Mazi. If you shut down on luxurious goods, I'm not bothered about it. But don't shut down on things that will affect a common man on the street.
Okay. All right, sir.
Yeah. A few days ago, the Minister for Information or whatever was complaining about insecurity, and it will cause food crisis in the country, and we've started experiencing it. When Jesus Christ fed 5,000 persons with what? Bread.
2 loaves.
Two loaves.
5 fish.
And he blessed it and gave it out. Bread is a stable, no wonder it is called stable food. There were 3 stable foods: bread, rice, and yam. These other 2 have disappeared.
They've disappeared.
So the only thing that is left, we are managing bread, and it's now running. I saw it running. I couldn't catch up. But then he talked about if we have been able to embrace the locally produced bread, it was impossible. It was very much possible. But then he answered it. He said, leadership is important. If by the time the previous administration introduced locally made bread, cassava, people started mocking. If the government, the leaders or the incoming government stood on that and said we must do that, look at what happened around when the borders were closed. No importation of rice. You see, the local made rice flooded everywhere. But then people discovered that even you that said I should not steal, that you are stealing. You that said I should not eat foreign rice, I should not even buy it, you are buying it. And of course, the locally made rice went above the normal. How much is locally produced rice now? About 28, something like
30,
that.
28.
Now, my dear, the problem is we don't have price control.
Okay, price control is one of the issues identified in this rise in the price of bread. I will come back to you, Mazi, but it's time for us to hook up with the newsroom for news at the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll continue on this issue of bread. Very essential, very essential. We'll be back after the news. Welcome back to the Buzz Wednesdays edition. I still have with me in the studios Mr. Nuruddin Adegbenro, Dr. Sonny Maduka, and Mazi Chinedu Mobioha. Welcome, gentlemen. All right, before we continue from where we left it off, let's quickly read some feedbacks and then we'll continue. Dennis from Ibadan says it's obvious that those things that are meant for the poor is where the government has turned to business: petrol, bread, rice, transportation. I like Mazi's comment on price control. It existed before and it can still work. All right, I would like for you to elaborate on that price control thing, but we'll get to it in a bit. Otto Daniel from Makodi says NLC is taking. All right, Otto Daniel, we haven't gotten to the issue of NLC yet, so you are preempting the show, but we'll take your message when we get to that. Good day to the great analyst in the house. Just to add to Dr. Maduka, al-Bashir of Sudan lost his office as president because of the increase in price of bread in Sudan. Grace Kiagba from Akwanga in Nasarawa State sent that one in. Ayodeji from Agege said, good afternoon. I think thank you, Ayodeji. Thank you for your message. All right, this one says, Madam P, well done. This increase in the price of bread will be the last straw that will break our back. People normally talk about the common man, but let me tell you, except for a few number, everyone is now a common man in Nigeria. We are all affected. Finally, let me remind us that the increase in bread price caused the whole wahala in Sudan. No, a word is enough for the wise person. All right, thank you, Davis, for your this bread issue. Really, you know, this has been ongoing for more than a week. I've tried to avoid it.
Over 2 weeks now.
Yes, but all right.
So has hold up.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it, because even Jesus Christ prayed. He said, give us this day our what? Daily bread.
Bread is very important.
And it is important. Look, if you are driving back home now, your children will run to meet you, and they will. My pastor said, always go with
level bread.
He talked about polythene bag, the second polythene bag. What does it contain?
Bread.
So when you deny a family a loaf of bread, the children will go after you. They will deny you as their mother. They will run to their father. So back to the price control. In the advanced country, prices are controlled by the government. And it is important that you don't increase prices autonomously. It has to be by stage, by stage, by stage. That is why we see today, a landlord can wake up Monday, you pay 50,000 naira this year, by next year you say 100,000 naira. With what parameter? It has to be by percentage. In advanced countries, price control is checked. For any price, for there be any price increase in any good, there must be a debate in both House of Commons and House of this thing. But in Nigeria, everything goes. Price control is important. I don't know how they're going to do it, because those there are no longer after you and I. They're after themselves.
And another thing again is that Agege as a place, I don't know a city, or let me put it, I don't know a city in Nigeria that has the numbers of bakery that is in Agege. I stand to be corrected.
It's true.
And one thing there is for Agege to feel it, then there is something that, for instance, now in Agege we still have bread of 15 naira. There still one of 15 naira. But now what it means is that the one we are buying for 15 naira is now going to 100 naira. There is all this Agege bread 150, so they will add 15 naira to it. The one that is a packaged bread 250, 300. The one for 300 is 350. The one for 450 is now 550. What it means is this: if you have a family, you with your wife and with 2 kids, you cannot get a bread nothing less than 350. That is what it really means.
That can go round.
That can really go round. But another problem there is this: you know, before, when you have 1,000 naira and you think about what the family can eat as fast food, you can easily get a bread with a tea. Everybody will. What now means that you cannot go for rice, because rice is now 500 naira per dirika. 450, 500, depends on the place. Go for beans, almost the same keda. Yam, don't even go there.
Don't go there.
So when you now talk about the bread that is much more affordable for people and it's not on the table, no. In fact, this is a high time that the federal government, especially Minister for Agric, needs to really call a round table talk, serious one, because what it means is that you are going to take bread from the table of majority of Nigerians, and when you do that, what it means is this: they are going to go hungry, and when they go hungry, the kind of insecurity we are still battling in Nigeria is still there. By the time people cannot afford what they can really eat, what it means is that the level of insecurity is going to grow up, and it's going to hurt to our headache.
Already the insecurity is part of the problems that's been identified,
yes,
you know, for the food crisis that we're currently experiencing. All right, you mentioned, I'll come to you, Dr. Madika. You mentioned, you know, what could be a spin-off from this increase in the bread prices. Now, one thing we haven't looked at is the health implication that could actually come from this increase in the price of bread. Because we recall not too long ago that the government had to battle with these bakers really for them to cut out the use of bromate and other sorts of improvers, you know, that saccharin and all of that they put in the bread so that the profit margin can go up. So if the bakers continue to experience this kind of difficulty to make profit from bread making, we're going to go back to that. People will now cut corners, you know, and begin to put additives that we don't need in our bread into it just because they need to make profit. And then you know what will happen? Nigerians will start consuming bread that is not healthy, and then our hospitals will now become packed again with different things. Please, we don't want that. I just had to quickly chip that in. Go ahead, quickly, Dr. Martha.
I think if I could just offer some ideas.
Quickly, sir.
One of them is that government should start embarking on something I would call mass storage. You know, whatever they want to call it, either in the states or grains. Because the problem we have that most of these farmers, even when they get this, there's no one to buy those things of them immediately, and those things get spoiled. So if the government can do something preservation, if the government can be able to muster that will to in each state to have a stock storage for grain, for all this cassava we're talking about, this is the
like silos and things like that.
So I think that will help so that when we have time that this is going down, the government can open up and then ensure that there's always supply
a balance
to, you know, a cushion. Two, there should be something we call public complaint committee or officers, and it should be in the presidency. Those public complaint office should be, they should intercede, or they should be, you know, they should monitor the prices and the mood of people. Because sometimes the president is not aware. Because sometimes the people that will surrender him will be people that are just telling him, don't worry, everything is okay. But that public complaint committee office should be direct to the individual, to the public, and they should be able to have direct access to the president. So most of their reports should go to president. So the president will know how people are feeling. Then we can talk about economic committee. You know, economic committee in such a way that you pick a scenario, like now we're talking about this bread. You analyze it on the effect of the people. What is the effect of bread on the people? What is it going to cause in terms of finance to the federal government, in terms of finance to the state, in terms of the individuals or within the committee of Nigeria? So if we can do this straight, it will help, because the issue as that now is that we have what I call policy somersaults in such a way that the government just bring this issue, they looked at it, if it's not working and people shout, they go back. Then they bring another one and they will allow us to muzzle and talk and, you know, years and months, just like what is happening now in fuel and whatever. So when a government wants to do anything, you talk about policy, they first of all analyze the effect of such policy on the citizens. And if we do that, yes, you know that, or if we have done this, the government will have known that increasing the price of bread is a time bomb, especially in the now, when people are hungry, when things are not well with anybody.
Okay, all right. Like I said, the Bakers Association in Nigeria, I don't know if that's what they're called, but those who are in charge of making bread in Nigeria are actually calling on the government to intervene so that, you know, things can go back to normal. Okay, bread is a staple food in Nigeria.
The increase is high.
That is high. Please, let's do something about